This is an assessment screencast for corrections of reading disabilities 480-481. This is a review to help you prepare for your tutoring on what types of tests need to be given at what grade levels. I'm going to start with kindergarten. The initial sounds test is found in the Cooter, Flint, and Cooter beginning on page 76. There are 3 forms of this beginning sounds test, A, B, and C. You only have to give one form. So if you choose Form A, well, any of the forms, the administration directions are on page 75. You are simply going to say the 3 words, soap, 6, dog. Which word does not begin with the same sound? And they will have to choose the word dog. Pig, pack, fan. Which word does not begin with the same sound? And they will say fan. And they're not all at the end of the line. For example, one is sun, tree, tie. Which one does not begin with the same sound? So you will do that for the 10 rows. There are 10 points possible, and the scoring guide is also on page 75 for that test. Moving on to phonemic segmentation. This is a very important test for kindergarten to determine whether they may be able to recognize initial sounds, but they're having a hard time recognizing medial or ending sounds. Again, there are 3 forms of this test, Form A, Form B, and Form C. You do not give all the forms. You choose one form. Form A begins on page 80 of Cooter, Flint, and Cooter. The administration instructions are on page 79, as well as the scoring guide. And this is given in 3 different sections. The beginning sound section. The administration directions are right on top as well. You are going to say the word live. What is the beginning sound in live? If the child says L, you are to repeat the directions. What is the beginning sound in live? We want them to determine whether it should be a letter name or a letter sound. So repeat the directions so that they're giving you the sound. If you have to give an example and come up with a word of your own and say farm, say the beginning sound in farm. And if the child can't, you say f and use an example, and that is fine. Same with the medial sounds, only this time they're listening for the middle sound, and they will reproduce the sound in the middle of the word for you, which is designated in the teacher's protocol here. Also then, the final sounds are ending sounds, and most of the time kindergarten will understand ending sound better than final sound. So when you're giving those directions, say, tell me the ending sound of the word call, and they will have to say oh. They cannot say the letter name, just the letter sound. Okay, moving on to blending sounds. I want you to do, this is also in the Cooter, Flint, and Cooter. I want you to do Form B because it is second semester, and Form B asks them to do a little bit more difficult task. They are to sound out, say it slow, or you say it slow and they say it fast, but you sound out all the sounds versus the initial phoneme and then the word chunk. So you will say f, I, n. What's the word? And the child will respond fin, and they will put the sounds all together. Again, now on this one there are not 3 forms, so you are just going to give, the entire part B, which I believe there are, oh, it doesn't tell me, but there are 3 pages, 2.5 pages of words that you need to give the child, saying it slow, and they will blend the word together. And this will give you a lot of good information on phonics and how children are starting to use their word attack skills. The phoneme segmentation and dibbles I'm not going to go over in this presentation. I can do a separate screencast on that if there are questions, but that is in the Dibbles website, and I gave you the username and password earlier this semester in an Adobe Connect. Use that to find the second benchmark, so it would be K2, the second benchmark phoneme segmentation. And this time you say the word fast and the child has to say the word slow, and you count the sounds, and it is a 1-minute timing. Okay, the Rebecca Sitten And I'm going to go over all the Rebecca Sitten at the very end. So the Rebecca Sitten can be found under course documents in the Blackboard shell. You are going to copy a word list, and I will show you that here in just a minute, a word list for each child that you will keep to mark how many words they get right or wrong, but the child will only see the PowerPoint. And at kindergarten, it is letter identification instead of words. All right, move on to the next grade level, first grade. Only if they are very low performing first graders, if they cannot read the level passages, then you will do possibly initial sounds and or phoneme segmentation tests in the Cooter, Flint, and Cooter. But if they can read the passages, even though they may be low level or just picture passages, just do the tests that are indicated here on the first grade slide. Nonsense words in the Dibbles. Again, access the Dibbles website, use the username and password I gave you, find benchmark 2, so it would be grade 1, benchmark 2, nonsense words, and it will just be one page. And you will give those nonsense words, and the child will say the words. It's a 1-minute timing. They will either sound out each sound or say the whole word. Either way, the child gets credit for all the sounds they get correctly. The Rebecca Sitten, timed. For the timed Rebecca Sitten, you will do the first grade list. It is only 30 words, so if that child finishes those 30 words before the 1-minute timer goes off, have them start at the top of the list and repeat, and you will count all of the words that they read within that 1 minute. Just have them keep repeating the list. For the untimed Rebecca Sitten, just in first grade, I want you to do the second grade list, because the words in the first grade list are so very simple that most first graders have those before they even come into first grade. So I want you to use the second grade word list. This will help you determine any high frequency sight words that the students in first grade may need throughout the semester. So use that second grade list, the 100 words for the untimed. The leveled passages for fluency and comprehension, and I should just be able to go over this once and then not repeat it for 2nd through 5th grade. But if you recall in my previous lectures, there are 4 forms of the leveled passages, A, B, C, and D, beginning on page 111 for Form A. Now, you only choose one of these forms, and there is really not a difference in the difficulty of the passages. It's just a matter of preference. Some of them may contain more informative passages. Some are more narrative passages. It's a personal preference. But whatever form you pick, A, B, C, or D, you need to stick with that form for your leveled sentences and the passages that go with where the child has leveled after they read those sentences. So if I'm using Form B, I'm going to start with the leveled sentences on page 185, have the child read until they make 2 errors in any one of the leveled sections. 2 errors, not 2 errors on one sentence, but 2 errors total on any of the 3 sentences. Let's say this child makes 2 errors in level 4. So I'm going to go back to level 3 for their instructional level. That means I have to look up the passages, which are in the dark tabs in Form B, and I'm going to go to level 4 passage, which is on page 198, titled A Different Time. I'm going to run a copy of that passage for the child to read and another copy for me to mark the miscue analysis. I am also going to go back in the grade tabs into the assessment protocols, and I'm going to look at the bottom of the page for level 4 again, and I find it on page 231. It says silent reading comprehension. I only run one copy of that page for myself to mark. The child first reads a different time passage silently. Give them up to 5 minutes. If they do not finish the passage within 5 minutes or say that they're finished, you can stop them and say, it's time to move on. Tell me what you have read. Tell me what you can remember from this passage. The administration instructions are on that silent reading comprehension page on page 231 for this particular student I'm talking about. You will then let them tell you their summary, their retell. If they address any of the answers of the questions listed there, you will mark UA for unaided in front of the question. Any questions they do not address in their retell, After they're done retelling, you will go back and say, let me ask you a few other questions. So you will ask the questions that they did not address. If they can answer them, you will mark an A for aided. If they cannot answer them, you leave them blank, and those are marked as incorrect. There are 8 total points possible for the comprehension score. So if this child only forgets or doesn't answer 2 of the questions, either in the retell or when you ask, that child will score 6 out of 8 in comprehension. And those are the only forms that you will need to copy and mark and then use for recording on the grade sheet later on in the leveled passage section of Cooter, Flint, and Cooter. All right, I'm going to move on quickly to 2nd through 5th grade. The phonics quick test you will find in the Cooter, Flint, and Cooter. It's early on in the earlier test, right after the alphabetics test for kindergarten, starting on page 101, phonics quick test. There are 2 pages. It's numbered 1 through 20, but I only expect you to administer 10 rows of these words. That's plenty. That's 30 rows and 30 words. You can choose to do 1 through 10, or you can choose to do 11 through 20. Have the student read these words. Again, the student can either sound it out sound by sound, or they can try to read and attack the whole word. Remember to count phonograms as one sound. Silent E does not have a sound, so if they make a sound on the silent E, it's counted wrong. Double consonants, one sound. And we will go over the scoring of this document again in class. All right, the Rebecca Sitten word list again, I will go over that shortly. Leveled passages again, follow the same administration directions that I just gave for 1st grade. And your Dibbles words per minute passages, again, don't worry about getting the Dibbles passages done the first couple of days. Those can be stretched out and done later on within the first week or 2 of tutoring. So don't worry about getting those done the first couple of days, but you do need to get all the tests out of the Cooter, Flint, and Cooter done and the Rebecca Sitten prior to our grade level chats, or as much as you can before our grade level chats. And I'm about to run out of time for the screencast, so I'm going to quickly go to the Rebecca Sitten word list. Again, this is in Blackboard under course documents. You click on Rebecca Sitten, then you click on the printed word list, which is the top item. You do not use the very first list. That says no excuses words. That is for spelling. You do not use that list. You scroll down to the very next document, word bank of 1200 high frequency reading and writing words. Those are the words you are going to use to test your students, and you will use the PowerPoints, the corresponding PowerPoints, to test your students. But this is the sheet you run so that you can mark the words that they do not get correct. Kindergarten people, I apologize for them not having a printed list. You will have to go through the kindergarten PowerPoint and just write those letters in the order they appear so that it will be very easy for you to mark that as the students go through. Here is that easy 1st grade list that you will have them repeat. Here is the 2nd grade list. 3rd grade list has more than 100 words, so you will stop on word 231. You will go from word 131 to 231 for the timed and untimed for grade 3. Grade 4's list is on the next page of this document. And again, you will go from 266 to 366. You will not do the entire list, only 100 words. 5th grade, you will do 401 to 501. And I can't remember if there is a 6th grade list or not. I know I've got one person doing 6th grade, grade 6 and beyond, so do 601 to 701. And hopefully this review will help you feel better prepared for your tutoring sessions. Thank you.